It's one thing to say that women's salaries are lagging in many professions. It's another to say that perhaps one of the worst is the legal profession itself. Gina Passarella explains.
Wexler versus Hamlin, McGill. You want me to sue my own firm?
Filing's all typed up. It's ready to go. First order of business, we get a great employment law attorney. Show them we mean business. You're here at midnight in this glorified cell block busting your ass for what?
Even if I won, who would hire me? That would be career suicide.
All right.
From the scripts of Hollywood to the interiors of law firms, equal pay for women is a case that's been building for decades. If you think there's no protection under the law, you'd be wrong. JFK signing the Equal Pay Act in 1963. Obama reversing the Supreme Court with the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009. But if you think the legal profession is taking the lead protecting pay rights for women, you'd likely be wrong again.
I am not encouraged by how far we've come since my case.
Attorney Nancy Ezold's lawsuit against the Wolf Block law firm made history.
It was the first case ever brought by a woman attorney and tried to a verdict against a law firm for denial of partnership. And
winning at the trial level, but losing on appeal. Ezold's case nevertheless sent shockwaves through the legal profession. But more than 2 decades later, there's still a wide gap.
Today, women partners earn about 20% of what a male partner earns. And if you go up to equity partner, then you're talking about even less.
And in the very recent research done by ALM, the study found that only 8% of women make $500,000 or more. That means 92% of men are earning more than women.
But there has been pushback.
Consider the issue of the so-called gender wage gap. How many times have you heard that for the same work, women receive 77 cents for every dollar a man earns? Yet it is so deeply misleading as to border on outright falsehood.
Number one, when you're saying fight for equal rights, I mean, a lot of these big defense firms are on the side of the employer saying, no, there's no discrimination, there's no unequal treatment, these are just disgruntled individuals.
Which is why women in many professions, including the law, are taking the gloves off. In the last few months, 4 high-profile female lawyers sued their respective law firms for gender discrimination, one in a $100 million class action lawsuit.
Certainly in I think the Chad Vernon Park case, the allegation is it's an all-male leadership team. And I think whenever you have that does raise questions about why is there not a single person of my protected status, a woman, on your leadership team or executive team.
Actually, we're perhaps the last of the high-end professions not to be hit with these kinds of cases, so in my mind it was only a matter of time.
As a plaintiff's lawyer now, Ezold knows all too well that suing an employer is not the easiest road to take. In her own case, she tried to resolve things internally to no avail.
At one point, I even offered one of the managing partners to come to a courtroom the next day where I was going to be examining a witness. And I said, if you come to the courtroom and you leave feeling I'm not qualified for partner, I'll walk away. And he never showed up.
Some suggest the problem starts with women.
As a woman, we almost put this gender bias in ourselves.
I mean, how much are you going to diminish yourself in order to get along? Yeah. When getting along means you're not going ahead, you're just, the woman that goes and gets a coffee when the guys are discussing the case.
How about some coffee?
No, thank you.
Would you mind making me some?
I think sometimes women are our own worst enemies.
That may be so, but there seems to be a shift.
We've got women now in the workforce who have been raised with the idea that sex equity is for them and they're entitled to it. Much different from my generation.
So yes, it had to be brought. I think a lot of good came out of it. I can't tell you how many women have come to me and said, I made partner and I never would have had it not been for your case.
The gender pay equity issue is far from new, but it seems to have reached a fevered pitch, impacting everything from state legislation to the presidential election, and employers who are facing an increasing number of lawsuits, and the legal industry is far from immune. But for many, change is not happening fast enough. For the American Law Journal, I'm Gina Passarella.